I think the biggest thing for me was that I wanted creative freedom. And I know that sometimes when you are working at a news channel or even a specific like radio station or something that you might be assigned to a certain beat or a certain genre or even like a newspaper, and I really wanted something that would give me free range to kind of do whatever I wanted in a sense of, hey, I know this is a great story with this certain athlete, let me go after them and do an interview with them, whatever it may be. So I wanted a non-traditional route because I know a lot of students right out of college go to the news channels, go to a radio station and work behind the scenes. I kind of wanted to find a way to go into this industry, but take it from a new angle, honestly. And I think this was a place where I could create whatever I wanted. Like you see all these videos on our Instagram feed and everything like that. It's just not a typical way to cover sports. And I think that our world and our generation is shifting so much towards entertainment mixing with sports. And I mean, you look at TikTok and everything that goes viral on there, it's not a simple news report. It's something crazy that happened in sports that you're talking about in an interesting way, or you're jumping on a trend in an interesting way. I think that people want to read and hear and look at news in a different way because we've been presented it's been presented to us the same way for so long, and I think that it's time for some changes. So that's why I ultimately decided to go the Hurrdat sports route, just for that freedom.
Speaking of change, the world of college athletics has been in flux with
Mhm.
the NIL agreements. We had a discussion about that over in the law class on the Canvas thread, that now student athletes can really monetize what they're doing, can't they?
Yes, 100%. And we see that every day here now at Hurrdat as well, especially on the media side. It was before I was at Hurrdat, but we started Adrian Martinez's podcast, Athletes Unfiltered. And so that's just one example that an athlete can go out on his own and make money. Like Nebraska, who he had played for, didn't have to be a part of that deal whatsoever. It was all Adrian on his own, saying, I want to put in this many episodes, and then Hurrdat was there to support that and, split 50-50 profits, whatever it may be in a certain contract. But now athletes have that freedom to say, hey, I'm going to go out and work with Hurrdat Media or work with Hurrdat Sports and, start my own podcast, because before they weren't allowed to do that and make money. But nowadays, I mean, views are dollar signs, in my opinion, and athletes should be able to monetize their name, their image, their likeness, which I'm glad they are now. I mean, you look at anybody's TikTok on the Nebraska volleyball team, or maybe even a hockey team at Omaha, and they can, just because they're a student athlete, like people are drawn to them. They want to see what their day to day is like, or they want to see them do a silly dance. There's so much that you can do being a student athlete and having that platform, but also being able to make money off of it is huge. And luckily, we've been able to be a part of that for some student athletes. And that's the biggest thing I've been pushing for is, hey, let's get more athletes in here, doing a podcast or doing a show for us, because ultimately those are the people sports fans want to hear from.
We've been fairly interested already in this class in TikTok. What have you learned so far about optimizing TikTok?
Yeah, TikTok is a tricky one. I feel like it's always changing, but I actually just got sent something from one of our executives here at Hurrdat, and he was explaining to us how TikTok and Google are really competing for being a search engine. Apparently, more young people are going to TikTok to look up, okay, how to make the best grilled cheese in the air fryer or something like that. Something as simple as that. They're kind of turning to TikTok for that because you always see these how-tos or these life hacks. So he sent us this little piece about how TikTok is directly competing with Google. I'm going to read a little bit of it, but he said to always have a hook. So at the beginning of that TikTok, say, these are the top 5 draft picks you need to be looking at, or this is the best way to make macaroni and cheese in an oven, or something, whatever it may be that you're talking about. It doesn't have to be sports, obviously. So you have your hook. And then you have, at the end of it, is important to add follow for more cooking tips or fantasy football tips, whatever you may be talking about, because apparently the algorithm will kind of reward videos that consume when people click on your content and click on your profile, especially. So it's important to have that hook, and then also at the end say, follow for this, follow for that, because I feel like everyone's trying to find their niche on TikTok, and while it's hard to do, it's important to always draw your audience right back to your page. And I guess the algorithm likes that. So tip for people there. But yeah, TikTok it's definitely a beast of its own. I feel like it's leading the way in the algorithm. It's very impressive what they've done with it.
As you know, this class, we try to talk a little bit about strategies and tactics. And I know Hurrdat has connections certainly to the marketing function. Have you learned much about state of the art, cutting edge strategies and tactics that you didn't know coming out of school?
I would say the biggest parts that I learned was definitely search engine optimization, SEO. And I didn't realize how important it was into being consistent in everything, because like I've learned this firsthand. I like posted a video of me interviewing Harrison Phillips. He plays for the Vikings now, and at first, like I just posted it because I really wanted to get it out, but it didn't have a thumbnail, it didn't have the hashtags, it didn't have the description, and that was like huge, major red flag for everyone else. And I was like, "What, guys?" I was like, "What's wrong with that?" And they're like, "Yeah, no, don't do that ever again. Like, you need a nice thumbnail, you need the description that also links back to like at Hurrdat Sports, our website, everything like that, and gives a brief summary of like, hey, we're in Omaha, because you never know who's going to click on it. So, and then having all the hashtags. But I was in a meeting like last week, and they're like, I thought this was really interesting. They said that you should spend just as much time or more time on the thumbnail of the video than the video itself. And I was like, whoa, yeah, I messed up on that one. But I'm glad that they told me, and now it's really consistent. We're putting everything in playlists and everything. But yeah, I didn't fully grasp SEO, and I just thought, we're posting it, it'll still get the same traction, but that's not true. You have to have all the bows tied and everything like that on it.
When you look at YouTube compared to TikTok, are there differences in how you're approaching not only the hook for the video, but also the length of the piece, the approach that you take?
Yeah, so TikTok's at 90 seconds right now, and then YouTube Shorts, which they unveiled not too long ago, those are a minute long. So obviously a little bit shorter, but the YouTube Shorts, we've approached those pretty much the same as TikToks, in the sense of, it's a short informational video, or it's a funny, quick video of the best clip I got talking to Harrison Phillips, or talking to a different athlete at the College World Series. Is something like that that is more evergreen, because I feel like when you're scrolling through YouTube, it might not be as chronological. And the YouTube Shorts, it's more of like, okay, what's something evergreen, and that means like you can watch it at any time and it'll make sense. So I think that's the best way we've tried to approach the shorts. Again, trying to make sure to always have hashtags in those. We've been using hashtag shorts in every single one of those. Apparently that helps. Again, these are all things that the algorithm apparently enjoys and likes to put at the top. So you just never really know. And we've heard the same thing for Instagram about them pushing vertical videos and not wanting the squares anymore. But that was what Instagram was back in the day, right? So it's funny how everything changes. But YouTube Shorts, I think, have been the biggest push right now for us. So like anything we put on Instagram, we put on YouTube Shorts, and we almost try to make it a YouTube Short, because it like we deliberately make it a minute or less, so we can put it on there, because those usually do pretty well. Like we've had some go like 10,000 views, and we're a very young business, and or not Hurrdat, but branch of the company, Hurrdat Sports. We just launched in June, and I don't know, we have like 100 subscribers on YouTube right now, and like those shorts, we've gotten like 10,000, 5,000, 6,000 on certain ones. So you can really reach a broad audience very quickly on that. And yeah, it's super cool. Definitely recommend.
It seems like it's both a challenge and an opportunity that these algorithms keep changing. That I know, I remember taking a class out to B2 Interactive and meeting with Bill Hipsher, and he was talking about, when they were working with optimization of SEO and content creation on the marketing side, that you always had to kind of keep up with as Google rolled out a new algorithm, or and that's even true, I think, for social media, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. It's always changing. I mean, we get emailed like every single week with new things to try, but that's also the beauty of it. I feel like you can just be creative and try different things and you get rewarded on certain videos and you might not on other videos. And it's kind of like playing the lottery every time you post something. You just really never know. Some of the silliest things that we've posted that took 1 second to make do 10,000 views, and then a sit down interview that I took hours upon hours of editing will do like 10 views. You just never know. And that's like just shows how important it is to be consistent and just keep pushing out content. And no matter what, like everyone started at 0 views, everyone started at no followers. So it's important to remember that everyone started from nothing at one point, and you just got to keep being consistent, posting and posting, and you'll get rewarded in the end for sure. But yeah, it's definitely exhausting with all the changes. And I mean, YouTube Shorts, it's like, oh, it's another thing to post on. But again, like you said, it's another opportunity to get followers and get people to know your brand. So yeah, I mean, social media will never stop changing, and it's just so important to keep reading and be informed about the algorithm and what's going on with that. So yeah, and trying everything. That's also the best part about it, is that there's no right or wrong answer to what you're doing. It's just about pushing out as much as you can, I think.
I was impressed, even when you were still a UNO student, that you weren't afraid in your interviews and video to be entertaining, which I think is such an important component of
Mhm.
being great on platforms like TikTok. Without giving away any secrets, when you interviewed for this job, did that come up in the discussion, or what else did the company see as a recent graduate that they wanted to explore more?
For sure. I think one of the things they did mention to me in my initial interview was my own social media platforms, including like Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn as well, just about how you treat those and how you, I mean, go about your business on those. Because what I said to them initially was like, I started thinking about my social media as a personal, like self business, when I was a freshman in college. That's when I started to treat it like, okay, this is my own business, my social media pages, and you have to just keep it up. And it's super important to remember that you're representing yourself, your university, but also again, like you said, adding in the personality, adding in your own flair, your commentary on certain takes and things like that. Obviously, like on a LinkedIn, you're not going to post something super controversial on there about a football take you have. Maybe you could, I don't know. But most of this stuff, like on my activity, will just be replying to articles or talking to friends about their new whatever it may be, their new job or new position. Liking things like that is super important. But I think in the initial process, it was more of like, okay, Anna, we've seen that you've already built up your own platform. How can you build up ours? And that was a big thing of I started my own personal brand. I started working with, like you mentioned before, the Big East Digital Network. I worked with USA Curling, and those certainly helped. But it was also the fact that I had taken the time to make that part of my own brand on my social media, posting pictures, posting snippets of videos, making sure I was following people. I retweeted things and just associated myself with all of that. I think that helped out a ton in the initial process. And they just saw, like, okay, she knows what she's doing in the social media realm. Like, we trust her to take over our brand, and we know that she'll put as much effort as she does into her own personal stuff into our work here. Because no matter what, like I'm putting my face out there in an interview or on TV, and that always comes back on me. Not necessarily, I mean, the company, yes, as well, but that's your personal brand still. So it's important to keep that up and keep posting on your personals. It gets tough when you are running social media accounts for other organizations, but also have your own. But you got to find balance of saying, hey, maybe I'll post this on my personal and retweet it from our brand account. Like you got to mix it up as well, because you don't want to get stuck ghosting yourself on social media and then only paying attention to one thing. So it's a lot about finding balance. But yeah, that was super helpful, keeping up all my platforms prior to my job search and certainly throughout college.
Yeah, I also find that as you said with TikTok, the Twitter has been more of a search engine than people realize. I mean, I get a lot of searches of my profile that I wasn't expecting early on with Twitter. I wanted to talk more about LinkedIn, and then we'll open it up to student questions. The students have been getting comfortable with LinkedIn and learning more about it. And I think you've been really effective, as you mentioned, in your LinkedIn use. So, what tips do you have for the students to take kind of the next steps? Once you have a profile, how do you develop it?
For sure. I That was my biggest point of emphasis, probably like my junior, senior year of college, and I recommend that for you. I mean, even if you're a freshman or sophomore taking this class right now, start now. It's never too late. I wish I even started LinkedIn a little bit earlier, my sophomore year of college, but the biggest thing for me was, I mean, you got to have a profile. You got to have a nice profile picture. Go get your headshot done. Pretty sure they still have free headshots at UNO too that you can get done in the creative lab, I'm pretty sure. But get a headshot done. And then the biggest thing about is connecting with people. So connect with your peers, of course, connect with your professors, connect with Dr. Lip Schultz. He's a good one. Love your LinkedIn posts. But making sure you connect with people that went to UNO, that are in your career field that you're interested in pursuing, whether that's connecting with them or just following them to see their posts. And it was my goal, I think last summer, to get my connections up to 500, and that was just big for me because that's what I associate with, okay, like you're official on LinkedIn before you get that blue check mark essentially. So I love connecting with a lot of people. Don't just like connect random people necessarily, but if they're associated with something that you want to be, like they went to UNO or they're in your career field or it's something that you're interested in, by all means connect with them. But yeah, I got it up to 500, I think, last summer, and that was huge. So connecting with people, it takes time, and don't get discouraged, but connect, connect, connect. Anytime you meet somebody, like you're friending them on Facebook or adding them as a follower on Instagram, think the same thing for LinkedIn. Like treat it just the same as how many Instagram followers you want. Treat it the same for LinkedIn. I know Instagram is a different beast with that, but LinkedIn is just as important. And then as for posting, I like to think about whatever I would post on Facebook that's not like super personal, like you went on a vacation or something. I would post that on LinkedIn. So if you just finished up your a seminar somewhere, you went to a class and had a class project, or after this social media assignment with Douglas County Health Department, like summarize what you did, take pictures. That's the biggest thing I would say. Take pictures, take videos of what you're doing, screenshot your PowerPoints or something impressive that you did. That is huge. I mean, you can always type something out, but nothing will reach people like a photo. That's huge for sure. I would always ask people whenever I went to a game and reported, I'd be like, hey, do you mind taking a picture of me to someone around? And it feels weird at the time that you're doing it, but trust me, on social media, it does not look weird. So yeah, take pictures, whatever you're doing. If you're even in class, working on a group project or something that you're proud of, post it on LinkedIn and hype yourself up, because you never know who's going to see that and be like, oh, that's something that's really cool. I'll keep that person in mind. Or just having your name pop up across a feed of people that are decision makers, employers, that's huge, because they'll, I mean, subconsciously see your name. And if you happen to apply for a job for them one day, they'll at least know who you are a little bit. And then also I found it really big for me applying for jobs. So what I did, and this again would take time, but it's definitely worth it. I made a list of every single organization I wanted to work for, and a lot of them were like NBA teams, NFL teams, MLB teams, college teams that I really wanted to work in their athletic department or work for their communications or PR, whatever it may be. And what I would do is I would search the team or the organization on LinkedIn, and I would find people that are associated with that work there. So like an HR specialist or a communication specialist from, for example, the Kansas City Royals. I would like connect with them on LinkedIn, and then once they connected with me back, or maybe they didn't, you kind of have to try multiple people, but I would send them a message and just say, give them my elevator speech and just say, hey, I'm Anna, a recent graduate at UNO. I would attach my resume and I would say, hey, I'm really looking for a job in this field. I'm looking for advice. Would you have any time to talk? Or do you know of any positions that are open? And I did that to probably 50 people. And I didn't get a reply from everyone, of course, but the people I did get a reply from, I still am connected with them today and I still keep up with. And yeah, I'm not working for those certain people right now, but you never know. You never know down the road that you may use that connection. So that's another big thing for jobs. And like I've gotten job offers from LinkedIn too of people um, private messaging me on LinkedIn asking, my plans after school and whatnot. So it's huge because you never know who's trying to reach you, and it's the easiest and most professional way to reach somebody for a job offer like that. So yeah, it's been huge for sure.
It's excellent advice. Anytime you have a chance to grow your social network, and we'll talk a lot about networks and visualization of networks later in this class, but that's essentially what you're doing when you connect with classmates, when you connect with professionals. And I've said this a lot over the years that you really have an asset while you're still a student because most employers are more than happy to want to talk to you as a current student and give you advice. And the door is more open probably than it is when you're not a student. So you've got some precious time in terms of access to people, and you shouldn't be afraid to use that, I think. So great advice there, Anna. Let's open it up. Who has a question?
So you said for your branch, the Hurrdat Sports, are you guys then the ones like going out to do like interviews and stuff and like shooting them, or like what exactly is it that you guys do?
For sure. So there's different parts of the Hurrdat Sports branch. So Andrew Rogers, he actually worked at UNO in the athletic department, if you know him, working hockey games and stuff. But Andrew and I are the two directors there. So we're typically like the on-air talent. And then we also have other like members of Hurrdat Media, but they also float to the Hurrdat Sports side. So they're the producers and everything, and they're the ones with the camera equipment that come out to do our shoots with us. So, for example, the College World Series, I had our producer Sasha. She was with me the entire 2 weeks every day at the College World Series, like every single game. We'd be on the field talking to one or two players. So we'd be the ones actually going out there and everything. And then also, but Sasha also would work for Hurrdat Media. So like if there's an entertainment podcast that needs help, she can also work for that. So you don't have to always work for a sports side or an entertainment side. You can kind of do both. And that's also the beauty of the company is that you're not tied to one thing or another. You can do sports one day, you can do entertainment one day. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, we typically do have at least one or two producers that go with us to remote locations. We just did the Pinnacle Bank Championships, and that was like all hands on deck there too. So like our films team was there. We even had our sales team out there and everything because we're a big partner with them. And then obviously Andrew and I were there too doing interviews. So yeah, it's all team effort for sure. And that's again what's fun about it is getting to meet everybody from the different sides of the company because we all like really mesh with one another. Like we even have a Hale Varsity Club, which is another part of the company. Bear with me. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. So Hale Varsity is like the Nebraska coverage sides. They're the magazine and also digital content that releases every month. And they also have a restaurant. So what we'll do at that restaurant with Hurrdat Sports is we'll go out there. It's like a sports bar, and we'll do live podcasting from out there as well. So every part of the company works together, which is super cool to see. But yeah, total team effort there.